Hey everyone, Mr. Kaczynski here. We are in section AA, Systems of Linear Equations for IXL's 8th grade math skills. Today's skill is skill 6 at the time of recording this in that section. It's classifying a system of equations by graphing. Okay, let's take a look at what we've got. All right, so first things, we're going to graph these equations and then we're going to classify them or pick which of these best describes them. Okay. So on the first equation, I see a slope, a y-intercept of 1 and a slope of 2/5. Okay, so y-intercept 1, there, right there, slope of 2/5. So from that point, I go up to right 5. So that's the first thing. Slope-intercept form shouldn't be too hard for us to graph. Second one, y-intercept of -10, slope of 2/5. Y-intercept of -10, slope of 2/5. So there's our y-intercept way down here at -10. From there we go up to right 5. So there we've graphed the two lines. Now we have to pick which of these descriptions best describes them. Those are what we call inconsistent. Okay, so inconsistent describes any set of parallel lines. Okay, as opposed to consistent and independent, which we'll just say one solution. If they have one solution, meaning they cross once, different slopes. And then that leaves consistent and dependent as the same line. If they are the same line, they are consistent and independent. Okay, so a little bit of memorization going there. If you had notes like this down and you're good at graphing while you're doing this skill on IXL, shouldn't take you very long to get through it. Let's do another one here. All right, so now we've got the first line here. This is a system of equations. It's got a y-intercept of 2 and a slope of 1/6. So a y-intercept of 2 right there, and then from there we go up 1, right 6. Second equation's got a y-intercept of 0. There's like a, in fact, I'll write it in there. Plus 0 right here. So it's got a y-intercept of 0 and a slope of -1/6. Y-intercept of 0, and then from there down 1, right 6. So we would call that consistent and independent. I better grab my marker. There we go. Consistent and independent. Okay, so on the last example I said consistent and independent if there is one solution. There's our one solution right there. -6, +1. Okay, graph these equations. Okay, x equals 6 and x equals 6. Obviously, they're the same line, so we would call that consistent and dependent. Now it's just a matter of graphing those lines. That is, x equals 6 is just a vertical line at 6. So there's x equals 6, vertical line at 6. And there's x equals 6 again, another vertical line at 6, and we call that consistent and independent, or consistent and dependent. So again, back on the first slide, I said consistent and dependent, same line. These are the same line. A couple more. Okay, so y equals, or I'm sorry, 2x plus 3y equals 6. 2x plus 3y equals 6. So let's find the x and y intercept as a method for graphing this. So the x-intercept would be if you ignore the y term. So 2x equals 6, divide both sides by 2, and you get 3. So the x-intercept is 3. That's right there on the x-axis. And then the y-intercept would be if you ignore the x term. So just rewrite the equation without the x term, and then solve that equation for y. 6 divided by 3 is 2. So the x-intercept is 3, the y-intercept is 2. That graph would look like this. X-intercept 3 right there, y-intercept 2 right there. All right, next. The second line, y equals 6. So remember, x equals 6 was a vertical line at 6. Y equals 6 is a horizontal line at 6. Okay, so these do have one solution. So anytime there's one solution, or we have two lines with different slopes, that is, consistent and independent is what we call that. Consistent and independent. One more. All right, again, we've got this situation where this equation is written in what we call standard form. So I'm going to figure out the x and y intercepts. It's not written in slope-intercept form. So to figure out the x-axis, I'll rewrite the equation without, or the x-intercept rather, I'll rewrite the equation without the y term, divide both sides by 2, and now I know that the x-intercept is -5. To find the y-intercept, I'll rewrite the equation without the x term, divide both sides by 5, and I get the y-intercept. So x-intercept -5, y-intercept -2. -5, -2. So there's the graph of 2x plus 5y equals -10. The other line, it's in slope-intercept form. We can identify that its y-intercept is -8 and its slope is -2/5. Y-intercept -8, slope is -2/5. Down 2, right 5. Down 1, 2, right 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So these are parallel lines. They actually both have a slope of -2/5. So they are what we call inconsistent. They will never have a solution. Never have a solution. All right, so again, consistent and dependent, same line. Consistent and independent, one solution. Inconsistent, they're parallel. This should help you with classifying a system of equations by graphing in section AA of IXL's 8th grade math.